So very warm welcome from my side, Marina-Elena Wachs. First of all, I would like to ask all people that we would like to record this panel talk for our subject. If anybody is not, will not agree, please take your hands and show it to me, because it would be very beneficial for all the students that could not participate at that moment because of other courses, because we have to postpone these panel talk within our COIL design project. So I'm looking at the screen and there is nobody. So all of you agreed to record this one. Thank you so much. So a warm welcome again to all of you. My name is Marina-Elena Wachs. I'm professor at Hochschule Niederrhein at the Faculty Textile and Clothing Technology, and together with an intern student group like Charlotte Weber, Nina Becker, Lido Stefan, and Ramona Müllers, we are organizing an edition on all the COIL design project, like this fantastic panel talk today for the topic about when charity becomes waste, reframing textile and fashion global responsibility between Europe and Africa. Because within our COIL design project that we are organized since 2003, and I am welcoming as well Sue Furban from Wilson School of Design in our round, and John Powell from Bournemouth University. We three initiated this design COIL project, Collaborative Online International Learning, in 2023 at the EPDE conference. And it's a great benefit in working together, finding together design solutions, and with intercultural and transcultural perspectives and a better understanding. This is fantastic. So as an addition to come together with other experts, I would like to hand over to Charlotte, that all of you would like to introduce yourself with short sentences, because I think it's all our interest in for the goal is working together, finding solutions together for the next future and planet with a view on textile, second-hand clothes or fast fashion items. And in the COIL project, we are going into this topic later on. Thank you so much, and I would like to hand over to Charlotte.
Thank you so much, Professor Wachs, for the great introduction, and a very warm welcome also from our side. My name is Charlotte Weber.
And I'm Nina Becker, and we're both doing our master's right now in textile product design, and we also did our bachelor's here in fashion design engineering.
We will be moderating today's panel talk, and we are very, very excited to have such inspiring guests with us today from Kenya, Ghana, and Tanzania to talk about how the global fashion industry can move from rather colonially structures towards real collaboration across borders, not through finger pointing or guilt blaming, but through listening, understanding, and creating new perspectives together. Let's just start with a quick round of introductions, just your name, what you're doing, and maybe from where you are joining us today. Thank you.
I can go first. Hi, everyone. Lovely to see some friendly faces. My name is Liz Ricketts. I'm the co-founder and executive director of the OR Foundation, calling in from Accra. Our mission is to catalyze what we call a justice-led circular textiles economy, and we work in service to continental market, which is the largest secondhand clothing market in the world. And we work very holistically, or as best as we can, within this 2-mile radius space that we find ourselves, across material research, making new products out of the waste, selling them, supporting the upcycling system. We also provide financial relief, healthcare, sort of meeting people where they are at, as well as providing job training for people who are doing dangerous jobs within the market so that they can leave. And then we also have cleanup efforts. So, for instance, every Tuesday, we have a team of over 150 people that remove a minimum of 30 tons of textile and other plastic waste from the beach. And we've removed over 2 million kilograms from one section of the beach in just a year and a half. And we clean up other areas as well as diverting clothing waste from the markets. We've diverted over 200 trucks worth of waste from entering the ecosystem in the last year. And then on the research side, and what I'm excited to be here today to talk more about and hopefully hear everyone's thoughts, is really looking at the root of this issue, which for us is production volumes, and looking at what does efficiency mean within the industry. And for that, we have a campaign called Speak Volumes, where we ask all brands of all sizes to publish their production volumes. And that sits within our larger campaign called Stop Waste Colonialism, which is really pushing or leading the charge on making extended producer responsibility policies globally accountable, which we can talk more about as we continue. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Maybe Janet, you would like to continue?
Thank you. I was hoping Elmar will go and then I can make the connection, but I'll go. Hello, everyone. My name is Chemitei Janet. I am from Nairobi, Kenya, but currently I'm calling in from Germany. I am visiting the university so I can also contribute to the COIL project and share insights, like my experiences in Kenya. I'm a slow fashion educator and an environmentalist, and I'm happy to have Elmar and Liz here because I'm a huge supporter of both their works, and I support through storytelling on social media so that more people can be aware of the wonderful work and the campaigns that they are doing, and how through social media education we can further advance the work. And I love that the theme of this COIL project is collaboration, because we all need to collaborate along the different supply chains to be able to get to the goal that we're trying to. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Maybe Elmar, you would like to continue?
Yes, thank you. Nice to see you all here. My name is Elmar. I'm one of the founders of ACT, Africa Collect Textiles. We are building infrastructure for collecting, sorting, recycling, upcycling textile waste. And by doing so, we are also supporting countries like Germany and their brands like Adidas and Puma to take some responsibility for the waste that their items eventually become. And so that also European or like exporting nations can reach their circularity goals, and we can make sure that eco-design is actually becoming fruitful by picking up basically the waste in the countries that do not necessarily have so much infrastructure for that yet. I think I leave it here.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Arthur, maybe you can be the next one to introduce yourself.
Yes, hi everyone and good evening from Tanzania, from Great Lakes in Tanzania, Lake Victoria. My name is Arthur. I'm working as a project manager at the Environment Management and Economic Development Organization called the MEDO, located in Mwanza, in the western part of Tanzania. Actually, we mainly work on environment and the fisheries sector. And I think this is one of the interesting topics which actually allow your touch for whatever we are doing every day. Among of the things that we are doing around the environment is the waste management alongside plastic pollution. So the plastic pollution, actually, we are sensitizing community to reduce plastic litter, which actually have got a lot of impact on the environment and the Lake Victoria. But on the waste management also, we have been working on one of the interesting projects we delivered in 2022-2024. It was Great Lakes, Clean Show Great Lakes, which was aimed at kind of doing community cleanup and the site cleanup. And then we delivered the cleanup in 60 and 69 points across 3 Great Lakes in Tanzania. And this project was funded by big producers of plastic from Norway. And some of the finding was so much interesting. I think later on we will be kindly touching when the discussion starts. But also, so we are working around safety for the fishers in Lake Victoria, where we are supporting to reduce the drowning risk, and we have different interventions around that project. And one of the products we are looking for is the design of life jacket of affordable buoyants, which actually will be suitable for the fishers. And like I said, one of the interesting things in 2021 also, we had a project where a boat which was made up from waste which was collected on the ocean and the lake, used it to sail from Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania to amplify reduction of plastic pollution. But actually, the product was the outcome of the second-hand cloth and the flip-flops from imported from outside. Yeah, thank you so much, and nice to meet you all.
Thank you so much, Arthur. It's great to have everyone on this meeting, and I would like to give all of you some background information. Every year, around 92 million tons of textile waste are generated worldwide, which equals a truckload of textiles being dumped every second. Fast fashion drives this problem. Clothes are produced faster, cheaper, and in much larger quantities than they've ever been before. But they are also thrown away just as quickly. And large quantity of those thrown away items are exported to low-income countries such as Kenya, Ghana, or Tanzania. The European Union alone exports more than 1.1 million tons of second-hand clothing every year to markets like the Kenyan Gikomba market or the Kantamanto market in Ghana. This leads us to our very first question. How do second-hand clothing exports affect the local communities as well as the local economy and the environment in countries of Africa?
We're also going to stop the screen presentation so we can see each other while we're talking.
Okay, maybe Liz, you would like to start by making a statement.
It's a big question.
Definitely.
I think one of the most important things for everyone here, if they don't already know, is recognizing that the clothing is not given out for free. So even if the clothing is donated in Germany or elsewhere, it's exported and people here pay quite a lot of money for it. So for instance, here in Kantamanto, bale prices range between 250 USD to over 800 USD for one bale.
Mm-hmm.
And retailers will purchase these bales not knowing what the quality of the product is inside, because the product that is exported from the global north is the bale.
Mm-hmm.
But the bale is a logistical unit. The bale does not represent the individual things that have to be sold, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then when the retailer opens the bale, she becomes responsible and she has no recourse. She has no way of getting a refund or sending the stuff back that she can't sell. So what has happened because of fast fashion is that the operating costs have gone up. Everywhere in the world, there is a cost of living crisis, here in Accra as well. Operating costs have gone up and the value of the product has gone down. So the retailers here report that over 50% of the product in each bale, meaning the individual items that they have to sell, cost them more money to manage than what they can sell it for.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the root of the waste crisis, which leads to environmental harm. And this is the root of the economic crisis, which is that everyone operating in the market is in debt.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone in the market is in debt. Less than 2% have access to healthcare. They're stuck in this cycle of being dependent on these imports. And this causes severe knock-on effects. People cannot afford basic healthcare. They cannot afford to go to the hospital. They can't necessarily afford school fees for their kids, right?
Right.
And because they don't have money left over, whereas 15 years ago, 20 years ago, when clothing was higher quality and more valuable, people would have a profit that they could then reinvest in repairing or washing or upcycling the lower quality things. But now they don't have that. And that's why we end up with about 40% of the clothing leaving the market as waste, which has a severe impact because most of it will be burned or dumped out in the open or end up at the sea. So we have high levels of microfiber pollution, 20 times the microfiber pollution in the air here than you see in Singapore. Mm-hmm. And we also have, again, because of the debt crisis, people taking a lot of risk with their physical health. So there's many impacts. I'll stop there so more people can speak. But I think it's just important to understand that the root of it is the fact that the operating costs have gone up and the value of the product that brands are making is so low that people cannot recover the money that they are spending on these products.
Thank you so much for sharing those very valuable insights. Maybe, Elmar, you can tell us a bit more about the situation in Kenya.
Well, I think it is not that different. Also, maybe Janet can step in there. So I mean, let's basically set a lot of it. I think it is indeed an unbalanced trade, and there's a lot of discussions on LinkedIn, and people say it's generating a lot of jobs, the reselling of secondhand clothing. But I think if you look at the macroeconomics, it is extremely beneficial for the exporting nations, and it is becoming a bigger burden for the importing nations. And technically, many African countries do the exporting nations a sort of like an environmental service by their willingness to rewear their items once more. And I think that is not very much appreciated in the way that it should be. It is seen as a cash cow. It's easy money. The more the exporting nations are buying, and the quicker they are discarding it, the better for this business. The more they can sell also. So there is a sort of like a perverse incentive here, and there's nothing that would therefore stop it or like limit it or slow it down. And this is a big problem. And then maybe to what I also think, and I'm very curious about other people's opinions also. I'm afraid that the way of collecting and the fact that many like charities or like Salvation Army, British Heart Foundation, Red Cross in Germany are collecting clothes to fundraise for their activity. I think that is already where it goes wrong. They are not collecting clothing to stimulate circular fashion or to stimulate rewear or reuse. They are collecting to sell it for the highest price to raise funds that have nothing to do with the people in Africa. And this was also saying, like, well, we know many people are active in this business. As a reseller, for example, if people cannot put their kids into school with the income of such a job, I don't think you can call it a real job. And I think that the collecting organizations and what exactly they are using the profits for, it doesn't outweigh the sort of like the non-existing or the pain that is basically caused later in down the line. And that is so I think the Red Cross is doing amazing work. No finger pointing today, but the Red Cross is doing an amazing job, and they are crucial. But I think this element of fundraising, of course, they have a lot of sources of funds. Is I think it's a bit outdated. It's something that maybe sounded interesting in the 80s. But you cannot ask piggy bank on a very large group of people that are just looking for affordable clothing and use that income for things that have nothing to do with them.
Okay. Thank you so much. And how do you think fast fashion is feeding into that problem? Maybe, Janet, you can give us your perspective.
I think what I want to say will also kind of answer your question. Also taking in what Liz and Elmar have spoken about. And I'm currently doing spending a month with the O Foundation in Accra, and I am experiencing their work because more often what we see and read on social media, it's just like a percentage of what the real work actually is, and I'm seeing that as I experience the O Foundation's work. And one of the things that I see is really impacting different African countries that especially receive secondhand clothes is that the trade is not dignified, in the sense that when these clothes are sent to these global south countries like Kenya and Ghana, as an example, I don't think people really think about what they're sending and how fast fashion is contributing to massive textile waste, in the sense that it is removing dignity out of jobs that should be giving people like empowerment. We more often talk about how, like in the Kenyan context, as an example, about how secondhand clothing is contributing to the economy largely, and we do not dispute that. But more often we also forget to accept that clothes do come with a people and a planet issue, and with that comes a dignity issue, because then it means that what you wouldn't wear here in Germany or in Europe, you're sending it to other people in other countries, because you feel like you're doing an act of care, but in the real sense you're just pushing your problems to someone else, and you want them to take that problem and hope that they have the space and the money to manage that, and that is infringing on the freedom of the people, because then they cannot do what they want to do, because the opportunities that they would use to build their own economies and in their own cultures in the way that they want in regards to the textiles, they have to limit that, and they have to adopt this new way to be able to survive. So it's also a way that limits that type of resources. And I think when you think about secondhand clothes, you will not think that it when it is received, right? You don't think that, you would think that all the clothes that come are in great condition, and that everyone there will have a use for it. So the dignity in secondhand clothing that I'm talking about, how it impacts them, is number one, to the people who have to sell these clothes, they lose so much money. And then a lot, some of it will end up as waste, and that means that the communities are impacted in the waste, and it also takes dignity out of the way that they live. And that is one way that we really need to think about how fast fashion is a bigger issue than how people see it in Europe.
Right, yeah.
May I add, perhaps, to make the bigger picture a little bit greater, Janet and Lisa and Elmar, so valuable to see your perspective on this topic and this problem, because it's not only the German waste, it is also the European and from other countries. So it is a huge impact in textile waste, and we have to look at the definition about waste and the quality. And we see as well perhaps another problem coming up when in 2026 new European Parliament laws about textile recycling is as well the next step. So thank you so much for your insight. And we, for the COIL design project, also have to distinguish between fast fashion and the quality and second-hand clothes of the quality, in my opinion, as well.
We would also like to ask Arthur how it affects the environment, if secondhand clothes or textile waste also affects your work, or your the work of the fishermen maybe, and
their everyday life also.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like in the other many African countries, Tanzania receives so many second-hand clothes. And you can say maybe more than a half of the population, which is now we are 60 million, more than a half of the population in most cases use second-hand clothes. And there was a time where the government wanted to ban the importation of second-hand clothes, but the reaction of the community, it was massive, like don't ban because most of the people in terms of income, they rely on using or buying those kind of clothes. So just connecting to, despite of the positive or economic advantage of those people who are involved in the business, but when it comes to negative impact on the environment, I think is also huge. And I can just give some practical and study examples that we found, especially in 2022 and 2024. Where we were doing this kind of clean show Great Lakes, it was a kind of campaign project and research because we highlighted the most polluted point alongside the lake and in all markets which is allocated alongside the lakes. And we identified almost 69 sites. And this project, like I said, I think it was one of the good examples that it was funded by big producers of plastic in Europe who wanted actually to give back to the community that way. So we were collecting waste on the ground with the community, and we managed to collect 25,000 kilo of waste. And outside of 25,000 kilograms, the top 5 items, because we were doing the so-called waste separation and the brand audit. So the top 5 waste items which were collected, the first one was plastic, which is called 74% of the total waste collected. The second one was clothes, which is called 11% of the total. And bad enough is that most of the clothes that we found was also thrown in the lake. So we collected those clothes under, especially bad enough, alongside the fish breeding area, at the shore. And because of the traditional of some of the community in Tanzania, especially those who are living alongside the lake, they like kind of traditional, like when someone dies, they will not use the lefty clothes. It's like a cast. So they will take those clothes and go in the flow, whether in the lake or just in the land. So throwing them in the lake is automatically distracting the fish breeding process within the lake. So it affects the fish and causes decline of fish stock. So as an impact on the environment, to be honest, the impact is huge in terms of causing that waste management problem, but also the toxic pollution, especially the fashion. Most of the fashioned clothes are coming out from outside. They're also made of kind of fabric materials, having some microplastic in. So when they are used and thrown on the environment, they cause more problem on the environment. Because this kind of microplastic, there was a kind of study also was done in Kenya and Uganda. Some of the fish on Lake Victoria was found with microplastic on their stomach. So this kind of thing, yes, they might be coming from the plastic, but some of them, they are coming from this kind of second-hand
synthetic fibers, that most of the toys are made of,
So it's a problem. It's a huge problem on the environment right now. That's why also there has been so much increase of campaign trying to see how can these kind of producers of this or importers, especially producers, how can they also contribute in terms of giving back, funding programs that can support this kind of recycling, community awareness, and so that can just help to minimize the impact on the environment.
Thank you so much for also sharing that perspective. We now talked a lot about the problems and also the challenges that come with all of the secondhand clothes that are being shipped to low-income countries like Kenya, Ghana, and Tanzania.
Yeah.
But we would also like to get maybe some inspiring stories or projects from your side. Maybe Elmar, you would like to start with Africa Collect Textiles. You already gave us a brief introduction earlier.
Yes. Well, I think in general, like if I'm in Kenya right now, I think in terms of circularity, it is pretty far compared to the Netherlands where I'm from or Germany, in my opinion, because clothing is used longer. There is more production, there is more upcycling, there's more recycling. It is, in my opinion, it also makes more sense to invest bigger chunks of money into recycling infrastructure because there are already mills and spinners that could offtake recovered fibers. As like in the Netherlands, we are buying everything from China, from Asia, and once we are done with it, we would like to other people to rewear it. And so we are basically just a station. In Germany, I think it's a bit similar. And so there is no production in Germany or in the Netherlands, or hardly.
But how is Africa Collect Textile contributing to the circular textile consumption?
So I mean, just to compare it a little bit, Germany has I think one of the best collection rates in the world. I heard 72% of all used clothing that is used is collected clean and dry. And this is also makes the responsibility even greater to do something about it, because I don't think there's a European country that exports or generates more secondhand clothing than Germany. So, I mean, besides that, so that is very impressive. Kenya has a very impressive production sector, but lacks the infrastructure to collect, sort, and process textile waste properly. So if we could have a little bit of infrastructure that Germany has, and I always wonder, so the EPR funding is, at least in the Netherlands, there's a 50% collection rate. The goal is to grow in the next 10, 20 years to 90% collection rate. But what is the point of such high achieving countries to grow their collection rates while some other countries that are basically taking up all that waste are still stuck at around 0 or 0.1% collection rate? So you were asking a bit of a different question, but I think it's a huge opportunity. And I always say to the exports, consider exporting something else than used clothing. And so you export your knowledge, invest your money into circular fashion in Kenya, because connecting the dots end of life to the cradle of fashion is a little bit more easy in Kenya because there is an infrastructure for production. So it makes much more sense to connect the dots and invest in those tools in a country where there's more likely where the circular fashion has basically a higher chance.
True, and you and Africa Collect Textiles have been working on this whole topic for a long, long time, and you have great experience in this field. And maybe you can explain a bit more of what the mission of Africa Collect Textiles is.
Yes, so we are building infrastructure to collect used textiles, clean and dry. We currently have 44 collection points all across Nairobi where people can donate, just like in Germany, people can drop off clothes that they don't use anymore. Doesn't matter if it's ripped or wearable. We also collect uniforms from security companies and wildlife conservation organizations. Sometimes we accept offcuts from factories, and sometimes we buy unsellable secondhand clothing from Gikomba. So we basically have 4 sources of textile waste or used textiles. We sort everything out. Some items are still wearable from public donations. We make sure that those get worn again. So that is locally sourced second-hand clothing. With that, we are trying to reduce the dependency, because I think that's another topic. We are trying to reduce the dependency on foreign second-hand clothing. And everything that cannot be worn is upcycled at the moment as good as we can into rugs, toys, backpacks. And step by step, we want to include more technology, more tools to process bigger volumes of waste. And we are now looking at crushing and shredder machines to make filling, felt, partitioning, and eventually in about 5 years, hopefully, we can recover fibers that are spinnable and that can then be combined with virgin fibers to make yarn and fabrics with good content.
Great, thank you so much. Maybe Liz, you would like to continue to tell us a bit more about the Your Foundation and your mission.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, to build on what Elmar said, the markets here are already the best circular economies that we have in the world. So Continental specifically recirculates a minimum of 25 million garments every month. And that's through reuse, repair, and upcycling. That's unprecedented when you look at any of the platforms in the global north. And so that's why these markets deserve to be supported and amplified and not punished. In terms of what we're doing as an organization, again, we buy waste back from retailers in the market. We are able to sort and process about 1 ton of waste per day. We have materials and products that we make out of that. We've built all our own technology locally. So we built our shredder, we built our baler, we built our granulator, we built our mixer. It's very important to us that we're not importing technology either. We're using local waste, metal and e-waste to build our technology that we're processing the textile waste with. But B, we save so much time by innovating locally. And also you automatically spur on other businesses, right? Like even the baler that we built, there's tons of importers here in Ghana that have balers to rebale stuff across West Africa, for instance. But they had never been built in Ghana. So now that we've been able to train people to build a baler, then that means you're displacing another product that would have been brought in basically as waste, probably from Germany or elsewhere. The products that we're making vary in sort of price points, because we do believe that we need to subsidize high volumes of waste recovery and processing. So we make fiberboard. And we sell just the board as is, but we also make a premium speaker, which is thousands of dollars, and that the sale of that can go to offset our ability to make the rest of our products very accessible. And then in terms of the upcycling community, I mean, we're about to have our OWO festival, and there's not a single month that makes me more inspired or reminds me more of what the fashion industry is capable of. I did my undergrad in design and worked as a designer and stylist for a long time. And for me, OWO, the combination of glamour and joy and just pure authenticity is what fashion should be. It's what culture should manifest as. And so that inspires me every day in terms of what the upcyclers are capable of. But I think the thing that really keeps me going is the collective mindset of people here. So we've supported the formation of 3 new market associations and 3 new market cooperatives to not only manage the waste, but to represent unrepresented groups. So for instance, the Continental Women's Association is empowering all the women across Continental to make sure that their voice is front and center in global dialogue around things like EPR. And one of the cooperatives that we have called Tide Turners. They're the ones that clean the beach every Tuesday. And we have 60 paid team members, and we have an average of 100 volunteers that show up. And our paid team members share their pay with the volunteers, because that's how much they care about working as a collective. And I think that these are the examples. It's not just a mindset, or it's not just a skill set. It's also a mindset, right? That should be shared and should be supported. And then I think people in the global north could learn a lot from. because to get the job done, we need like the most optimum level of cooperation. Like there is no room for competition if we are really going to tackle this mess. We have decades of linear production and misleading information to undo. And if we want to do it fast enough where more people do not die, then we need to work together and we need to work hard.
Yeah. Janet, how is your work contributing to also raising awareness across the community?
For me, it's more of bringing information right in front of your eyes, because now more people are using social media and there's a lot of things that are trending. There is a lot of like influencers that are rising and showing more and more on how you can buy more fast fashion and wear it once or not at all and throw it away and then get another one. And it is trickling down from the global north to the global south. And as someone who was born in Kenya, which is an African country, and I have spent all my life there, apart from the few times when I get to travel, but we were raised with a culture of using your clothes until the thread is almost falling off or it's falling off, and or you can even repair it to wear it for a really long time. But the more the years go by, the less we are connected to our clothes. We want to follow the trends. And so what I do, I use social media as a storytelling platform. Where I go to the dump site and the market in Nairobi to show that there's a connection for all of us globally, because these clothes come from somewhere and they were once in your wardrobe and you spent your money to buy them, and now it's in my country and some people are wearing it. Some of them are ending up as waste. And so it's not a thing about pointing fingers, but it's about we all have a shared responsibility. And I do that by using videos and trending audios to show you that. And in that way, I hope that people realize that at every step of the clothes journey, from right when it was either grown as a seed, if it's a natural fiber item, or if it was made from plastics, which is a synthetic fiber like polyester and nylon. At each step of the clothes journey, all of us have a responsibility. And the one thing that all humans share is we all wear clothes. So whether we like it or not, it's a part of our identity, and we take responsibility. So that's how I also connect, people from different walks of life, but also supporting the different initiatives happening in the space, like the O Foundation and ACT, by connecting citizens with what these initiatives are doing and how they can also support them, not necessarily buying, if they're making products, not necessarily buying. Support does not mean you have to spend your money to buy a product. Support also means sharing in the value and the why of why these initiatives exist.
Thank you so much. So within our COIL project, students are designing survival items using discarded fast fashion items together with fishermen from Tanzania. I would also like to open the panel now to questions from our students. Is there any questions so far? If not, I have a quick follow-up question prepared. So from your experience, what is the most important thing to consider when we are co-designing across borders and across cultures, especially when materials and needs can be so different?
So I think perhaps
I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please, Liz.
I think tackling like actual freedom of movement. So I think when you're collaborating across borders, it's very important. Usually it's people from the global north who have the passport privilege and the ability to get a visa to travel to the global south and be on ground. And it's one of our policies that we don't work with research institutes, or we don't do collaborations when there's not the possibility of doing it in the reverse as well. It's very important for people from the global south and from these communities to understand the system that they're a part of. For me, that's at the root of this injustice, is this lack of freedom of movement, but it's the fact that people are blind to the story that is being told about them. And so much changes as soon as someone from, we do these delegation trips. And sorry, I want to take a second, because I think what Janet was saying earlier about dignity is so important. And the first delegation trip we ever took with retailers from Cantamanto, we went to Paris, and we went to the sorting centers, we went to the charities, we went to the fast fashion stores, and we did pop-ups, we met with fashion schools. It was an incredible experience, but I'll never forget when we first went to the fast fashion stores. We went to two. I won't name them because I know we're trying not to point fingers here, but we went to two fast fashion stores, and the retailers went in, because people here in Ghana are very discerning about quality. So they went in and they were opening the seams, like really checking the quality of the construction. And one of the retailers walked out after 5 minutes and was really distraught. And she said, what chance do we have? Like, if this is the quality of the clothing before anyone has even purchased it, what chance do we have at making money? And the reason I'm saying that that's important is then when we got back to Ghana, the delegation that went, they asked me to come to a meeting. And they told me that one of the things they decided after traveling was that they're no longer going to come to the market 6 days a week. They're no longer going to get up at 3 a.m. and return home at 7 p.m., risking seeing their children or not seeing their children, because traveling taught them that it's not their fault. Until they were able to see the other side, they had been carrying that guilt internally, thinking that the waste that they walked on top of every day when they left the market, the debt that they carried with them, was because they weren't good enough business people. And yeah, I hope that everyone can see how meaningful that is to moving the conversation forward. And so for me, there's nothing more important at this moment than facilitating travel in both directions. Because I don't think we can't have equal dialogue if people from these communities in the global south also can't be asking the questions, not only answering the questions. Until people from the global south are able to ask the questions of the global north, we haven't shifted the dynamic.
So there's the question from the student, Leah. Would you like to integrate it?
Yes, so Leah has two questions. First question is, what kind of fast fashion are around? Anything from outdoor to shirts and jeans, or are there only specific garment groups? And regarding the fishermen, if there are also a lot of fisher net in the getting dumped into the lakes.
Lakes.
Yes, is this question directed to me?
I think the second part definitely, yeah.
Okay.
So you can maybe start and then.
Okay, I'm trying to internalize on the chat. Okay, I have the question.
Maybe I can answer the first part.
Yeah, the first one. Yeah, sure.
What kind of fast fashion? I'm trying to find. So everything we wear now, is it what, more than 60% is fast fashion? So think t-shirts, pants, shoes, everything is fast fashion. There's not a specific item that, no, not a specific item. All types of clothing that you might think of gets shipped as secondhand. They do not discriminate on the regions. For example, I come from Kenya, and our climate is pretty moderate, but we'll still receive all types of clothes that come from global fast fashion brands. And for Ghana specifically, and I think Liz can talk about this, Ghana is along the coast, and so it's very hot. And as I said, the clothes, when they are sent to these African countries, they're not discriminated, for lack of a better word, so they will send everything. And in Europe, you have 4 seasons, right? There's winter, there's summer, there's autumn, and there's spring. And so for winter, as an example, you wear a lot of heavy clothes, like heavy jackets and heavy boots, because you need that extra layer of warmth. And then you will find some belts that will be sent to Ghana, and they have these items, and so you're left to wonder, so what? Like, it doesn't go with the context of the region in terms of the climate. And so that means they will probably leave the market unsold and be taken into a landfill, because the people who live there have no use for it, right? And as I said, fast fashion makes everything, so there's nothing specific. So when you think about the items that we would be considered as waste because they're either unwearable and unsellable in the different global south countries, it's not because it's just like outdoor clothes or swimwear. No, all types of clothes that we wear now come from fast fashion.
Okay. This kind of leads us back to the conversation we had yesterday, where we talked about what is being considered as textile waste, and from country to country it can be different depending on the materials, the compositions, but also the types of items that are being received.
May I add, I think the question goes as well to Arthur in the direction, what kind of second-hand clothes are wearing, for example, the fishermen would like to accept to wear, perhaps as well. Because very interesting for the COIL Design project is about knowing about more about the habits of the fishermen and the fisherwomen, what kind of fashion items they would like to accept as well within the usage of the design solution they have to create.
Yeah, in most cases, it's for the fishermen, especially speaking about men, trouser, like jeans. That is one of the things that sometimes they pick, but in most cases, like jackets also, t-shirt, jackets. The jackets is because of the cold, especially those who fish in the nights. So they will just put a kind of jacket.
Yeah.
And then in most cases also they improvise in using a kind of plastic full suit from top to down, just for protecting water when they are in action of fishing. So normally they are just using those kind of plastic locally made, and sometimes they don't last longer. Probably is one of the areas also if there will be a good thought on producing those kind of full suit kind of thing from top to down. They use in most cases. But for the women also, because sometimes they get into water to get fish, they use also like skin tight track suit, those kind of t-shirt, tops, which is not cotton, like cotton 100%, because cotton can be wet and sometimes hard to dry. So it's a kind of fabric, you're not cotton 100%, especially for the women also who get into water. Yeah.
That is actually really interesting, because yesterday we were doing a task with Jeanette, and she told us that in many other places people don't wear plastic or like sort out the like plastic polyester clothes because they get too warm in them.
Yeah, they get too warm, especially those, like I'm saying, those who are fishing in the nights. They need that for warmth.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's a very good area if we are thinking about also recycling and the designing of kind of clothes that can fit for the fisherman. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question, and I'd also like Liz to answer this because the O Foundation works with the community in Accra, and it's not just them, like obviously the team that works do need to have like higher education to understand how they can also bring knowledge that they learn in class, but also combine it with the knowledge and experience that the people in the community have. And I know that for the COIL project, the students are designing something with a fisherman to help them, I think, in the case of drowning. And I would like to know from Lisa's experience from this, how do you ensure that when you're bringing an idea, and in this case, like a design idea or a product to a community, how do you ensure that you work with them and you don't like forget that you're supposed to be doing something with a community, not for them, even though you are coming from outside? Mm-hmm. How do we not blur the lines of these two different identities?
Thanks, Janet. I mean, it requires intentionality from the beginning of any project, right? Mm-hmm. Because I think also a lot of it is determining if the thing that you think is needed is really the thing that the community thinks is needed. Mm. And I can't speak to your specific project, so I have no intention of critiquing how you've gone about it or offering specific feedback. But I know what we've learned, and what I have to continually remind other people, especially folks who come from the global north and want to help, is that, for instance, right, we're all on this call because textile waste on Ghana's beaches or in Dendora landfill have become very visible and very globally salient. It's in the press everywhere. You all have seen it. You all feel moved by it. It's very real. It's very tangible. It has a health impact, everything here on the ground. But recycling or recovering that textile waste is not at the top of the hierarchy of needs of most of the community that we work with. It might be something like a toilet facility is at the top of their hierarchy of needs, right? And so I think what's important is also figuring out, if you're bringing a solution to a specific problem, how do you make sure you identify what that community considers their number one problem and also try to address that, even if it's a separate solution or a separate answer? And because that builds that trust and that builds that respect.
And what tools could we use to implement that? And also, how can we do that, especially if we are not traveling to Tanzania to better understand the situation on site? We don't have that opportunity right now. So do you have any advices for us as students working across borders on a digital base, maybe?
So the people that you're working with in Tanzania does it include designers as well? I know Arthur and his team, but who makes up the counterparts?
Yeah. Maybe just to add or to complement on that, and just specifically taking an example of the Lake Victoria drowning prevention project that we are implementing on Lake Victoria, all kind of activities that we are implementing, we use the human-centered design approach to design the interventions. Like, we brought all key stakeholders at the community, and they were the one to suggest on the kind of things that can really tackle the problem. For instance, on the case of life jackets or buoyants that now we are trying to work on, most of the ideas about the local kind of lifeline, local kind of things also came out from the fishers themselves. So I think also using kind of available resources, researches, and the materials that we used on the project, you can grab and get some of the elements that can help the students to design, because they can go through the reports, like the human-centered designing report for drowning prevention that we had. The report, it tells about the fishers' behavior. like what kind of behaviors that fishers practice in the daytime and in the nighttime accelerated drowning risk, the product, the things that they use, what kind of ideas they suggest. So going through those kind of reports, it can really inform or support the student to come up with the product which is actually relevant to what the community needs. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that sounds great. Good wealth of knowledge.
Elmar, what is your perspective on working across borders together, especially in a digital format?
For me or Arthur?
Elmar.
Elmar. Sorry.
I think just to point one point in myself that just working with this kind of group, for instance, just today, I learned one of the new things from Elmar. You know, those kind of recycling, creating that kind of collection point for college. I think it's the first time for me to hear about this kind of thing, and probably I will have a follow-up to Elmar to see how they manage it to Kenya, because as we know that most of the recycling thing is of the plastic, but with the increase of this kind of fashion and the thing related to college, how can we also try to tackle the problem on the ground using that simple technology and those kind of things?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, and I mean, to unlock circular fashion, you need to collect clothing, clean and dry. Otherwise, it's becoming very complicated and very costly to clean it or to dry it. And so the steps of collecting, sorting, preparing, cleaning, taking off the buttons and the zippers, that is technically in every country the same. But how to fund it and how to manage it and what to focus on, that differs. I mean, the textile collection and sorting is viable in Germany and the Netherlands because you can sell second-hand clothing to African countries. We are collecting all kinds of materials, but we cannot just pass it on to another country. At the same time, upcycling, which is very time intensive, that is not viable in Germany because the wages are too high. But in upcycling is more feasible as a business model in Ghana or in Kenya. So what exactly circular fashion means, or what ingredients are have to be put together to make it work, differs. But at the same time, some technologies and some ideas can work. I mean, also when Liz was here and all the entire Ghana team, so we had this discussion a bit about would people donate clothing into collection bins like they do in Germany? Why would they do that here in Kenya? We also, a lot of people asked us when we were trying to get funding, why would people donate? There are so many other ways to get rid of your clothing. But still, there's a need for people to get rid of clothing anonymously. It's easier than to find people that would fit these items. So yes, some things cannot be transferred. I think that so I see that also as my role. I am basically some sort of middleman that is sort of like cherry picking ideas or technologies that can work and that could fit and that fit in our roadmap. Also, at this stage, we can try this. At another stage, we could maybe set up an entire chemical factory that they have in Sweden. And so, but we're not ready for that. So, what are the other steps that could work to get there? So, so I think. So why would I? So I also really appreciate sort of like developing those solutions. What the OR Foundation is doing, like developing a shredder and developing a bill press. I think that is a very good idea if you have the time for that, because there's a lot of these, some tools, a bill press is doable, I think. But like how to shred textiles or fiberize, that is like sort of like 50 years of French or German or Italian knowledge, or Indian or Chinese knowledge is going in there. And to redesign that or to follow that is of course possible, but then that is a design project. And that can take years before you nail that. So I do believe that some tools and technologies could just be cherry-picked from specific places. But it is the merging and the blending and how to put it together to contextualize the entire system that it works here. That is a bit of that's the challenge.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Before we close, sorry.
But I think that gives hope that all we are speaking together, talking together, what could be the solution in the future. Because I think it's time, and Liz is perhaps having not the time longer, like I'm recognizing. I would like to thank all of you. It was an amazing panel discussion with these both final moderators. Thank you so much. And I think that gives us hope for a better understanding that we have to care about a better quality. It is about the product value, like Liz said at the beginning, that's the red sign as well. And it is the waste management, like Arthur proclaimed as well. And of course, the collaboration, like Janet is underlining, that's necessary that we have a following up panel talk. On my opinion, it would be very beneficial for all. And of course, Elmar's just visionary creating a structure, not only an infrastructure at Africa. I think that would also be very beneficial to look for and to learn from other countries together. So thank you so much for this first panel talk, Beyond the Borders. And hopefully we come together again for the next panel talk and showing our results of the COIL Textile Design Project with the Bournemouth University and from Wilson School of Design with Sue and John and Arthur and Liz and Elmar and Janet and Charlotte and Nina and all the persons collaborating, Lilo and Ramona and all the students together. Final sentence from you, Charlotte?
Maybe just asking for a statement of each of you what we need to move towards a more circular fashion future.
A global EPR system.
Okay, thank you. EPR is extended producer responsibility for everyone who doesn't know. Liz?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, globally accountable EPR is definitely what we are calling for. And just so people understand, brands will be paying about $1.1 billion into EPR in total by 2028. And about 90% of the clothing collected in Europe will be exported, but all of the money as of right now will stay in Europe. So that's incredibly unjust. And so we definitely need more people in the global north to get behind this campaign and get behind this push, because we essentially have a 2-year period where we have to convince brands, we have to convince policymakers and other NGOs in Europe to support this call for a globally accountable EPR. So if you want to learn more, you can go to stopwastecolonialism.org and please get in touch with Elmar and myself to join the movement.
Thank you so much. Janet, maybe you want to continue?
Picking up on the EPR conversation, I think I'd like to add that clothes is a shared responsibility, and we have to take it up in our different spaces and roles, and not to complicate it. Yeah.
Thank you. And maybe Arthur, you would like to wrap up?
Yeah, I think from my perspective is that problems caused by second-hand clothes is like unseen problem in Africa. And now with this kind of movements and projects going on like this one and like this one of going on the designing, I think needed to be really amplified to increase the awareness of the community, of the stakeholders, but also of the producers to take the responsibilities also of like a shared responsibilities, taking back to the community, funding different projects and campaigns to facilitate the recycling of these second-hand clothes in Africa.
Thank you all so much also from our side. It's been great to have you on our today's panel talk. Thank you so much for making the time today and giving us your insights from different perspectives on our project.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.